the Trevor Jackson podcast.
But I want to play this video. I want us to break this down because, Marc Lamont Hill, I watched the Joe Budden podcast. I frequent it. You know what I'm saying? It's a good show. It's a good podcast. It's one of the best in the culture. And Marc Lamont Hill is on there. This is something that's like 4 to 5 years old, but I feel like it's valuable now for me to get into what the OG Star was talking about last night about the WNBA. So this conversation is that transsexual men can have babies. And Candace Owens wasn't tolerating that shit.
Can men get pregnant?
Depends. I know.
What does it depend on?
I know trans men that can get pregnant.
That means it's a woman.
Okay, so Marc Lamont Hill genuinely thought he was about to walk Candace Owens through this whole trans argument like she's never heard it before. Like he's going to explain it nice and slow, and she's just going to sit there and go, "Oh, okay, yeah, you're right, my bad." And Candace hits him with a no so fast it probably gave him whiplash. Didn't hesitate, didn't soften it, didn't say, "Well, it depends," or "Let me think about that." Just no. And that's exactly why this clip went everywhere. Because nobody expects that kind of composure when the cameras are on and the pressure is right there in your face. Let's get in.
I think that we have to do a few things. For me, I think the easy part, and this is the part I think you and I agree on, is that we have to accept, and we should accept people as they present themselves in the world, right? Like if someone says my pronouns are, if I told you my pronouns were she, her.
I'm sorry for stopping it so early. I feel like, accepting people for who they are, and no disrespect to nobody. But, I can't accept what isn't reality. I don't have no problem with you, but I'm not going to internalize it and say that it's agreeable or okay. Because I wouldn't want somebody I love to be in a state of confusion like that. Because I feel like it's a confused state to be saying that I'm a girl. If I was on here talking about I'm a female, that shit would be crazy to me. But this nigga is up here being agreeable with it. And I listen to him frequently. He has great talking points. He's a very educated man. But sometimes education can, have people lost in the soy sauce. But let them continue on.
You would address me as she and her, right?
No, I wouldn't.
Really?
No, I would call you Mark.
Okay, but you wouldn't call me he.
No, because I mean, I would call you Mark, if that was something that made you comfortable. But if I saw you,
and if I said my name was Jane, would you then call me Jane?
If that was your legal name, yes.
But you'd only call me by my legal name.
Yeah, I call you by your legal name. I don't have an issue with that. But I'm not going to pretend. I'm not going to change what these established pronouns for male and female because you say, I'm Mark and here I am presenting.
So what do you? So I really want to ask you. I'm genuinely curious about this. But first, let me just say, I think that one, this isn't a case of someone thinking there's something that they're not. What people are saying is that there is a misalignment between my sex and my gender. But
disorder.
That's
the point. My mind and my body don't match. That's a disorder.
That doesn't make it a disorder. It just means that the world may be more diverse than we've previously understood it to be. Whether we see it in plants, whether we see it in animals, there's all kinds of complexity, and we look. In history, I mean, even we go back to the continent of Africa, we look in Asia, there's all kinds of examples of people who have complicated gender performances and complicated.
I'm going to stop it. I need somebody to, he said the world may be more complex than we have, accepted it to be. I feel like, things are simplified. It is what it is. I think people make it more complex than it actually is. I think people view themselves as more valuable than they actually are. We ain't as valuable as we think we are. I think that's the ego playing this part. But he's a Democrat type of individual who, they lenient when it comes towards that transsexual stuff, and they implementing it. Obama, I'm sorry, I rock with Obama, but he prioritized the LGBTQ community more than he prioritized Native blacks and black people. But He's saying that the world is more complex, it's interesting, it's confusing, and I feel like Candace Owens is about to put this nigga on the grill.
Understandings of gender and how we perform gender can be different.
Mm-hmm.
But I guess my question for you would be, why, if someone identifies as, particularly in a, someone who you engage with, say it's a colleague at work or whomever, a family member, whomever, if they say, look, I prefer to be called she and her, and I no longer want to be identified by this name, why not just honor that?
If you changed your name, I will honor it.
But why not? I mean, I'm sure you call people by nicknames, dog. I'm sure you grew up in a black neighborhood, right? People, I know you know somebody named Peanut, right?
Yeah.
Right. You don't say, well, that's not your legal name. Your mama named you Joe. I'm gonna call you Joe.
No, I'm saying if a name is one thing, but if you're asking me to change pronouns, I'm not going to do that because these are established pronouns. You're asking me to now change the English language, right? We know why we call female, she, her, girl, woman. Okay, these are words that have meanings. These are words that have meaning. So this is a book, right? So could you call this is a book and this is a mug? Could you call this a book and call this a mug? Yes, you could do that if you want to change it, but words have meanings, right? So now if I switch it and you say, well, this mug wants to be called a book, it's a mug. It's just a mug. This is the word we've established for mugs. This is the word we've established for books. So you're asking me to change the actual meaning of words to accommodate you. I'm not going to do that.
No, I'm not going to
do that. It is because not only is it a request, you can now get in trouble in certain states.
I'm saying that's not
for misgendering someone.
The request of the trans community is not that I'm actually a man, but I want you to pretend I'm a woman. The argument of the trans community, which I agree with, is no, I am a woman. And so I want you to revert me.
But you're not a woman. So that's the problem. So this is what I say is now you've asked me to take on your mental disorder, right? So I am okay with the fact the argument from my uncle who thinks he's a Native American from a certain tribe is that this is what he thinks. He thinks, but he's not. Okay, so I'm not, then to say to me that argument is valid because he thinks it. No, just because you think something doesn't make it real. Okay.
But that's exactly what gender is. Gender is exactly about an experience and a performance and a social construct.
It's not a social construct. Stop saying a social construct. To say that words don't have meaning and they're socially constructed means nothing. And I'll tell you why.
They are.
But you say that, but then
this wasn't always a book.
Okay,
this could be called mug.
So then you know what it is? Our entire discussion about Black America meant nothing. There's no such thing as racial injustice. See what I did there? Because Black is a social construct.
Yeah, but we live in a social reality. So within that social reality,
it can't be both, Mark.
And this is the part that actually got me. Candace flipped the whole argument on its head with one move. She said, okay, fine. Everything is a social construct. Cool. Then racial injustice doesn't exist either. And Mark walked right into it. He spent all that time building this case about gender being a social construct, and Candace basically said, all right then, your entire argument about race just collapsed too. You don't get to pick and choose which parts of reality are real, depending on what point you're trying to make. Either words have meaning or they don't. Candace wasn't having it, and she made that crystal clear. Let me know in the comments if you think Candace completely cornered him right here. Hit that like button. It really helps. Let's get...
I wish I could have found this without Buddy's commentary, but I apologize, y'all, but it's a great conversation. I feel like Mark lost that battle before we get back into this next part with saying that being a transgender is a social construct, because we say black and white is a social construct because it doesn't really even exist. I feel like being trans is a social category. You categorizing yourself as something. It doesn't exist, but you are claiming that this is what it is. And it really isn't a reality. It's just something that humans created to identify with and identify themselves, but I really don't, that it's actually weird. Let me read a few comments because I haven't been reading comments, and then we're going to play a little bit more of this video and we're going to get into another conversation. I appreciate y'all. Real talk. Okay, so Diane said Obama had a whole LGBTQ flag cover over the White House. Facts. Spain just turned the gay ship around. They had to leave. They said they don't want that in their country. That's some European stuff that has been pushed upon us. I feel like, that stuff is being promoted to us the most. I'm here in the 704 in Charlotte, and I see a lot of females that identify as studs. And I see a lot of men with them crop tops on and shit with their navel out and with slides on and bonnets out in public. I am wilding off of that shit when I see it. it's just weird to me. Taz said Mark stays shilling. I just feel like it's being promoted to us, and I don't want my people to be just easily accepting of something that doesn't serve you. You got to keep yourself up to speed, keep yourself educated, keep reading, keep learning, because you'll accept some shit that you realize that you didn't even agree with in the first place. She could have left that uncle part out as facts. But this is when Candace Owens was under the act. Real talk. Okay. It is now part of the social and political agenda. You're right about that, Taz. I appreciate you tuning in too, Taz, and I would like to hear your voice. And, as we move along in the conversations, I would really appreciate you calling in and educating us on your thoughts of everything that was heard. Because I'm just here to learn, though, Taz, to be honest with you. But thank you for tuning in to the show. I'm going to play a little bit more of this video and accept callers calling into the show. Thank you.
Back in.
Do you either
Sure
think
can
that
be.
the gender wage gap is BS, that feminism is wrong, and that racial disparities are all BS because everything's a social construct? You're either going to go full postmodernist and say nothing is real and it's all made up, or you're going to acknowledge that there are some hard, concrete truths. If there are hard, concrete truths, you and I are black, okay? That's not going to change because we wake up and we decide, you know what, today I'm white and it's just how I feel, and today I'm Chinese. No. You and I are black, okay? We are acknowledged as black people. We're sitting down as black people. I am a woman. You are a man, okay? Now, if I want to wake up tomorrow and say I'm a man, you want to say you're a woman, and we want to play the crazy game, we can do that. To then say all of society now is to pretend that it was all a social, no, it was a social contract. You were born a male. I was born a female.
Yes, that's a sex.
We are black. Okay, it's a color though. Black is it's a word that we use to say a sex. Female is a word that we use that has a meaning.
Yes,
it means you are born with a vagina. You can have children. You have a uterus. When you are a male, you are born with a penis. You can get a woman pregnant. These words have real meanings. We cannot suddenly get into society where there are no truths.
So to acknowledge a social construct does not mean that we ignore biology, and it doesn't mean that we don't have.
Can men get pregnant?
Depends. I know.
What does it depend on?
I know trans men that can get pregnant.
That means
I gotta stop it. I will listen. Be careful of who books you purchase, because Marc Lamont Hill owns a library. He's an author, and he is saying stuff like this, and stuff like this will be ideology that is adopted by other individuals. That's complete bullshit. Men can have children. Cut the cap out, nigga.
it's a woman. Only one sex can get
That's a
pregnant.
circular argument. That's
It's not a
begging the
circular
question.
argument.
Yeah.
It's proving my thing. There is a truth, a concrete truth. You have to be born with a uterus to have a baby. Only women can get pregnant. The fact that we've arrived in a society where
Right,
this
that's
is
the part
even
I'm disagreeing
debatable,
with. That's the part I'm disagreeing
there's
with.
nothing to disagree with it. These are facts. So you can say that this person who is pregnant identifies as a man. That person was born a woman. I can tell you that every single time because only women can have sex, because there are concrete truths about life.
Have babies.
Can have babies, pardon. And that is a hard truth about life. You cannot make that go away because you want to call a man, somebody who has a beard and dresses like a dude, a woman. Only if it's pregnant, I can tell you exactly what it is. It's a woman.
So I'll give you, let's go back to the social construct thing, because then it'll answer the thing you just said. I'm not ignoring what you just said. I want to tie it together. So the idea of, my point was that a social construct doesn't ignore physical realities, right? The social construct is about how we as a society make sense of those physical realities, right? So for example, you said we're black. Sure, right? I'm trying to think of, you pick a light-skinned black person, right? They're black, right? We'd agree on that.
Mm-hmm.
Now let's go to the Dominican Republic.
Mm-hmm.
Let's go to the PR. Let's go to Puerto Rico. Let's go to Jordan. Let's go to Iraq. Let's go to Sudan. Let's go to Ghana, right? And let's go to South Africa. I'm picking these places very specifically because they have different racial logics and racial paradigms. And what it means to be black here, it doesn't necessarily mean that it's a universal blackness, right? That in Dominican, there might be 5 different other racial categories, right? And there are some light-skinned black folk here who, when they go to Ghana, get basically seen as white, right? Because of how we socially construct it. Doesn't mean my biology changed. Doesn't mean my physical reality changed, but how society engages this stuff is what makes it a social construct. So similarly, when it comes, so I'm not ignoring the realities of race. So with race and racism in America, and then I'm going to take it back to the gender thing. When it comes to race and racism in America, it's, yes, biologically we're all the same, right? Black people, white people, there's an infinitesimal difference between a black person and a white person in terms of our genetics, right? This is superficial stuff. But that's a biological reality, right? It's a biological fact, right? Just like it's biologically true as me being born with a penis, right? But the truth is, but the idea that there's social meanings attached to that blackness that make people fear me, or that make people think that that person's life is worth more because they're white or whatever. Those are social meanings that are arbitrary and
Correct.
different. So to acknowledge social constructs doesn't mean you ignore biological realities.
But you just did that when you said that men could give birth.
So similarly, what I'm saying is that I'm not denying the biological reality of maleness, of the genitalia we're assigned at birth, and what we can do with those body parts. I'm not denying that. That's a biological reality. Again, the social meaning I'm attaching to it is what I'm saying is more complicated.
But it's not complicated.
How's it going tonight on this beautiful Sunday night, my brother Eric?
It's going pretty good, sir.
Oh man, I appreciate your conversation and your time. I've been trying to learn from this show that I'm creating right now, and I don't know if you have been watching it though, but it's a lot of conversations that's been going on.
I just jumped on. I wanted to see where we were in the conversation.
Okay. So far, at first we was talking about, towns that has been forgotten that that black people have created financial institutions and owned the town. Secondly, we was talking about the prison industrial system and how capitalism hasn't been beneficial to us as a whole. Then Marc Lamont Hill, I know you might know Marc Lamont Hill. He talked about men can have children. Woo.
I'm very disappointed to hear his perspective. He's entitled to his opinion, but as I just got on, I wanted to make sure that I jumped in an appropriate spot. I won't say I'm shocked, but I just say I'm disappointed. We'll go from there.
Why do people think that being trans is a social construct? And your knowledge, Eric, of a social construct, I know what it is by definition, but what could be considered a social construct? Because people say black and white is a social construct that is in reality, but now he is saying being LGBTQ or being trans is a social construct.
I think you and I have talked about this, and I think, I'd say like this. I would say, number one, I want to know whose payroll is he on?
Ooh.
Like where financially is he aligned? Number one. Number two, the lines can kind of get blurry on these things. I don't know if he is a social scientist by definition, by trade. I know he's a commentator. I don't know exactly. Are you familiar with exactly what is his claim to fame, was expertise in?
Well, he was on CNN at once, but now he talks a lot on his independent platform about geopolitics, and he is on Joe Budden's platform as a person who is assisting the evolution of Joe Budden's platform. But what's crazy about listening to him speak in this aspect is that I don't agree with what he's saying, but it's interesting that he is saying it with a straight face. That I don't know no black men that will say that I can have a baby.
Let me make sure I'm hearing you correctly. Let me position my good ear to the phone. Did you say he made the claim that he has the ability to have a baby? Is that what you just said?
A LGBTQ man can birth a child.
And what evidence does he have to support that claim?
He didn't present any evidence, but he said it to Candace Owens' face. And Marc Lamont Hill is a liberal. Candace Owens considers herself a conservative, and both of them probably don't align with each other or whatever though. But it was just interesting to hear him say that, and it was just blasphemous to me to hear him say that also. And I like Mark, to be honest with you, but certain things I just disagree with in totality.
I think he knows better. I think he if you were to if you were to talk to him one-on-one at the parking lot as he's getting into his automobile and riding off to wherever he's going, I think he knows better, but I think we live in the days where politics and financial security will get people to say what they need to say.
That's true. That's true. And a lot of people sell. Okay, since you educated me on that aspect, do you think majority of these political commentators are sellouts because they put
No,
themselves on one side or the other? You know,
right.
they are in agreement with whatever
I give
in totality.
and I know that you and I have talked about this. I grew up watching professional wrestling. I'm certain that you did too at one time, correct?
Most definitely, the Undertaker is the best to ever do
Well,
it.
there's another gentleman I have to introduce you to. He's a nature boy. That's Ric Flair. He's the best. He's the
Okay, okay. He from Charlotte too. He's a Charlotte man also. I know the Rick Flair.
But what I will say for yourself and the listening audience, as a young man, I grew up in Atlanta, and at that time, Atlanta was the mecca for professional wrestling, right? And I remember as a child, and I think this story will illustrate what we're seeing. I remember taking a day off from school. I had to go to the dentist, and it was in the Omni complex when it was the Omni. The Omni no longer exists now. I forgot what it's called now. And at that time, during that time in the 80s, yeah, probably in the 80s, yes, that was where you had Gold's Gym was kind of at the bottom. They had an ice skating rink in Atlanta. Anybody from Atlanta knows that. And I'll never forget seeing Hulk Hogan and Sting coming out of the gym, and they were just like regular people, but on TV they were arch enemies. Like I seeing that as a child disturbed me because I only knew them for what they saw on TV. Like they were. That was when Sting went on the quote dark side. You know how they did that.
I think I know where you're going with this now too, though. Keep going, keep cooking, Eric. Keep cooking.
But as a child, I was disturbed because I only saw what I saw on TV. But in reality, these two guys were getting paid to put on a performance. They had a particular thing, and they were very good at it. They were very believable. They were, but in reality, and I'm, this is looking at the mind of a 10, 12-year-old child. I remember seeing that vividly. Never ever let it go. When I look at this kind of stuff, I go, okay, and to answer your question, I think that people today, are they sellouts? I'm going to say that they are, but I understand what they're trying to do because I believe if you ask them, like, what do you? He knows that a man does not have the capacity to birth a child. He knows that. I mean, I would think he would know that. He sounds like an intelligent man. But I think we live in a day and age where people have to take certain political stances in order to get funded, to be noted as a person. And I think that's the day that we live in.
I agree with you too. We gotta understand that it's an entertainment aspect in a lot of these conversations, even though we may not agree with it, but it is an
Yeah.
entertainment aspect if you want to be popular in that space. And that lets me know, to be honest with you, that I may be independent forever. Because me and you had a conversation just last night about the music aspect of who I am as a
Yes.
person and why
Yes.
I'm continuously independent. But
Yeah.
it's just weird to see that a person will
He,
you know
he knows better. I would assume that he knows better, but we live in that day and age where we have to espouse. And I do get where the sellout label comes from. I do get that. I understand that.
thank you, Eric, for your time, man. And I'm looking forward to us having our conversation. And if anybody is watching this, go to the playlist section and check out me and Eric's conversation of his book, The Divorce Man. We're gonna be linking up again here soon and doing more content, and it's going to be phenomenal content. And I suggest everybody just, wait on it because it's going to be great.
The Trevor Jackson Podcast.